rated not too young to run bill has been signed into law by President Muhammadu Buhari, and by implication reducing the age limit for young Nigerians to run or vie for different offices ranging from state houses of assembly, national assembly, and of course up to the presidency. Well, to discuss the implication or significance of the signing of this bill into law, I have with me in the studio a writer, a journalist, and of course a public affairs commentator in the person of Bakari Majid. Welcome to the program, brother.
It's always a pleasure.
How are you doing?
I'm fine.
What's the feeling like, as a young person, Buhari has signed that bill into law?
It's the feeling is just the same way. I'm not really going to the type that gives into the whole euphoria, and when things happen you start jumping about it. I think it's a moment for a lot of deep reflection onto exactly what has happened and the general implications going forward. So the deep understanding of it now, because as far as I'm concerned, the bill was signed immediately. Some of the state house of assembly, which is more like the most difficult part of lawmaking to navigate when you take laws into the state house of assemblies. That was where the real fear was, that probably would it pass, would it not pass. As soon as it passed, I had this sense of total confidence that the president would definitely sign it into law. So when he did sign it into law, apart from just trying to break the news, it is not beyond that for me. But ultimately, it's about going deeper and say, now that this one is on the table, what next? And that what next is the major question that we need to start talking about.
What is the significance of the signing to the political space in Nigeria vis-a-vis the young people?
It's really a landmark achievement, a big one for every one of us. The opportunities which this particular bill is going to provide are enormous. They are huge, but we must not get it. We must not downsize it. That there are, to a large extent, the negative part of it, or if it's not well managed very well, it's like a tool. It's like a sword. You can equally use it, to cut. Let's say a machete. You can use it to cut grass, and ultimately you can also use it to hurt people. So the negative part of it are huge also, but it now depends on how well we can manage it. But if we do not manage it very well, okay, like I have a proposition that in a couple of months, the group which was actually behind the whole Not Too Young to Run activism, the Yiga movement, to a large extent, at one point, they are going to lose control of that particular organization, and they will start panting and say, okay, this was not what we intended for this bill to achieve, which is a normal theory in advocacy for any new thing. It's going to be hijacked. Some people are going to come about to benefit from it and to also twist it to achieve an objective that it was not intended for. So it's now becomes on everybody to stay alert, to stay guided, and continue the conversation. But it's unfortunate that when you try to steer a conversation along that line and say, look, we are about to achieve this. These are things we need to be concerned about, and any form of divided opinion is viewed from the angle of some sort of saboteur, like, oh, you're not happy about this thing, you are part of the status quo. And it's a question of being part of the status quo. It's about we identify that there are problems, because signing the bill into law is just one aspect. The ultimate aspect that we've not asked ourselves are the issue of electionary financing. And I'm not sure, probably me and you will have a couple of billions start somewhere for electionary, because that is it. Even despite the fact that the current electoral amendment that is currently ongoing, with all the controversy and the concern increasing the amount of money, the ceiling for you to be able to contest in an election. I think from the president was moved from around 1 billion to 5 billion naira, which we all know that what is being spent on election for the presidency is definitely much more than that. But even at what it is, I'm not sure you and I have that kind of money somewhere to actually use for such for electionary. So, and that is where the conversation goes. And mind you, the Electoral Act was not explicit on the source of that funding. So it has potential for opening up room for godfatherism, for a whole lot of things if things are not managed properly. And managing it properly, it's the aspect that we need to move into now that we've not moved into.
When I was watching the president address the young people after signing, 2 paragraphs to the end, he did say that in as much as he has signed the law or the bill into law, he appealed to them or requested or asked that they should not contest election in 2019. They should wait until after 2019. That means young people hold on until 2023. Why are you signing a bill into law for young people to run and you're telling them wait for another 4 years? What message does that send to you?
I take it as a joke. A good script should have a lot of banter into it. If it's a constitutional agreement, so if the constitution of the Federal Republic, which is the ground law, is making a provision for something, so no matter the level of appealing, it's not going to work. So I think probably we're just a bit too sensitive in this country that we can see a joke from what it is. It's unfortunate that mostly journalists are into it in the name of being the next person to write something big or the righteous person. They focus more on the mundane issue, and those are mundane issue for me. A couple of jokes is not going to kill anybody. But ultimately, now that the bill has been passed into law, and the presidency to a large extent was not, is not really affected by to run. It's part of the age requirement that the National Assembly actually didn't act upon, which was part of why the reason why the convener Samson Itodo today mentioned it. I said they've already kickstarted the conversation with the leadership of the National Assembly to include reviewing the age for the president and also for the governorship election downward. So I'm not really saying how it's going to concern the president. But it brings us back again to, because today at the press conference, when given the opportunity to ask questions, I asked a particular question that has been bothering me for a very long time. After covering the lower chamber of the National Assembly, the House of Representatives, for more than a year now, I've observed the trend that mind-boggling for anyone who is concerned about the inclusivity fights that we've been having in this country. That the youth among the lawmakers, the one that rank between age 40 or probably less than 40 and 30, the level of representation has been appalling. It has been appalling in the sense that you find total absentee among some of those lawmakers. They rarely come to the House for deliberation. A lot of the deliberation done in the National Assembly are done by some of those. So the argument that we are going to have a different approach to governance, we are going to have the youth vibrancy into governance, the energy that we are going to bring into the table. The little ones that we've added, they've not brought this, and they've only entrenched the status quo, or their abbadas are bigger than even some of the big guys. They come around and they go. And it is an open challenge. Look at the votes and proceedings of the House. Check it, for the past 1 year. Look at the level of contribution of some of all these lawmakers within that age bracket. It has been MIA. They've not been coming around and they've not made any meaningful contribution. I'm talking on the basis of percentage. Probably be looking at between 20-21% out of all of them. And they are more than 30 or 30 between there. They should be between 20 and 15. So as it stands now, the productivity of what we're getting from it has been abysmal. And if we don't start that conversation and say, look, we have to hold every one of you accountable. Though you are a representative of a particular constituency or a particular district or a governor of a particular state, but being an ambassador, you represent all of us, irrespective of the state that you are from, and holding them to account must be, to a large extent, must be responsibility of all of us. And if I may add, if you look at the conversation, it's already delving that they are already having doubt as their ability to win the election. And just part of the things Yemi Samson Itodo admitted today without knowing, when he said, and I quote, that they will still be looking at issue of affirmative action for youth. They are urging political parties to make concession by giving 50% of all their table position for people who are young. I don't see any sense in it. If we struggle for it, powers ought to be earned, not given. You have to take it, and taking it does not mean that by going violent about it, you have to bring a superior argument, you have to bring a superior organization. And if we don't do that, that means to a large extent we are furthering the same old establishment, the same old way of life. And let me tell you the most important thing about that particular age bracket: there's no permanent seats there. You move in at one point in life, you pass through it, and off you go. Most of the people that we condemn today, Honorable Rotimi Amechi was the Speaker of the Rivers State House of Assembly by the age of 33. Dimeji Bankole was the Speaker of the House of Representatives by the age of 37. Obukola Saraki was essay on budget to President Obasanjo by the age of 38. And these are the group of men and women. We can still go on and on and on, even during the colonial era, the likes of the 23 years. But ultimately, everyone that we look down on today and we say, oh, you are the problem for this thing, they were once like us, like you and I. So, and they go to power. So the argument lacks substance on inclusiveness of the youth. If we are not changing the approach to governance, if we are not changing the mode of financing, you just end up having a system whereby it will be a continuity, but this time around it will be hereditary. I become governor, then one way or the other I sneak in my son, or I look for someone who's going to be totally loyal to me, I sneak them in. And I didn't really defeat the essence and the purpose of it, that the quality ones among us, the most vibrant one among us, should emerge. But we cannot leave it to nature. If you plant tree outside there, even without watering it, if you plant 10, some of them are going to grow, some of them might not, some of them might be stumped. But if you put a lot of energy into it, watering it, taking care of it, removing the weeds around it, there is a good chance that a lot of them will grow very well. And that is it about the young not too young to run big. You must nurture it. You must put in effort into bringing out the kind of results that you want from it. But if you don't do that, you're going to have this conversation again and say, what next are we going to try? Because it is a source of inspiration. If we get it right with this, a couple of youth coming in and taking the right proposition, probably we will be able to get affirmative action right and say, oh, we're not even going to talk about 85%. Why not let us talk about probably 40% or upward? Democracy is not something that we call, copy from a textbook and say, this is how it must be done. It must evolve. It must continue to grow. It's dynamic in nature. It is unlimited on what it could achieve. But if you achieve a certain part of it and you say that, my brother, I don't know what to say.
Okay, well, you quoted it, Tido, while he was addressing the press conference. Did you see him sounding or appealing to this kind of PT kind of stuff where you say that we're asking for some sort of inclusion because they say power is not given, it is taken. And then the president also said, do not see this as the end of it.
Absolutely.
It is the beginning. Do you see us ready, us now as young people, or at the end of the day it goes to the hands of the elite who will still hijack the entire process and begin to pass peanuts to the young people?
It's definitely going to be, going to go in that direction. Definitely, absolutely. It's something that I'm as sure as I'm being a black man. I'm sure about it, that at one point or the other, the essence of the bank would be hijacked. I mean, come on, we've seen it over and over. This is a scenario playing out ahead of us. We've seen places where concessions are given to women on the basis of gender inclusiveness. But look at the percentage of some of the women who have become probably senator or as a representative member. Go and check their husband. Go out there and check. The system of democracy is for us to establish a room where everybody has an equal seat on the table, where that equal seat represents ability to vote and to be voted for and be responsible for some of those choices. That is democracy for you. But it is an utopia idea that we have it on the table, that this is it, government of the people, by the people, for the people. But it's beyond that. The process that gets out there is what we are talking about. You and I don't have that money kept somewhere. We do not, but some people do. Some interests do. Let us move to aspect of primary election. For you to win a primary election in this country, for probably to run for a senator or for reps, you're talking about millions. And now then when you move away from there, even within the local community, nobody is going to carry your flag by that person just being nice. There is a cultural aspect to it. There is a political aspect to it, and there is the economic aspect to it. If all of them are not well aggregated in a way that is going to suit the ultimate aim, and that aim is a governance that looks at itself as a means to an end. And what is that end? End is that dividend for democracy, where everybody gets a fair share on the table, until we get to that point, I'm not going to be surprised. And I'm not going to rate actions or inaction on the basis of demeanor or while delivering statement. It comes with all this bragado. Oh, we're going to do this. We're giving you ultimatum. We're issuing in that. But what the ruling class know very well is that the threshold for sustaining a demand is very, very limited when it comes to youth, because they are looking, oh, what's the next thing? They understand this thing perfectly. They understand that the next coming couple of months, they will even be rank up within the rank and file of the not too young to run, because he said, we are not going to transit to a political party, but we are going to stay as an advocacy group. So
did that make sense to you?
Absolutely, it makes sense that they should stay as advocacy group. It should continue, but they should metamorphosize on the basis of objective. The one objective has been achieved. Setting another priority and say, okay, want to reduce it further is a waste of time. Now, the objective should be more as a pressure group, in the sense that look at some of, be a source of screening people and say, look, these are people we can recommend. Produce platform for engaging conversation, electioneering debates. Those are the way you can find relevancy in delivering those things. Because I tell you what, in 1979, when we copied this old US system of governance, we brought it. There were a lot of promise made. I was not born by then, but as a student of history, I know that everything is going to be all right. Let us move away from the shackles of the Westminster's type of parliamentary system. Let us go to the 21st century, the American style. Today we find it to be unnecessarily expensive, unnecessary. The argument of thoroughness in bicameral legislative has been defeated. The issue of pension areas for some of some of the ex-governors who are now in the Senate, these are problems. The friction, our inability to manage the friction between the legislative arm and the executive arm, those are problems. Because they printed this Eldorado for us and the la. We didn't get it. In 1999, again, when we came in with democracy, said, give democracy the opportunity. This next year is going to be 20 years of democracy, of different form of different individuals and personalities have held their affairs, and the lamentation of woes continue. And I'm not saying an end to some of those lamentations, because ultimately we're getting it wrong. Okay. It's a tool, not an end.
All right. Now you mentioned the fact that they can continue as a pressure group where they can screen public candidates and say, okay, meet the establishment of those you think can alter the scheme of things. It's okay, these are the young people we can present to you as being capable of handling what position at what level of governance. Now, pressure groups can be bought.
Yeah.
Don't you think that at the end of the day, if they're not too young to run, arrangement metamorphose into a pressure group, they can be bought by people who want to, alter public opinion, who want to be at the level of deciding who gets what among the young people. If, for instance, there are elders who have served their times out and they are now like elder statesmen, power brokers, and all of that, they gather because we do not have money to go and start running huge campaigns for now as young people. Won't you see the possibility of those people being bought over by money? And of course, we return to status quo by them putting people who will be stooges, and the system indirectly continues.
Life is a 50-50 opportunity. Whenever you go into any venture, it's either you make profit or you make loss. And it's the same thing with the Not Too Young to Run movement. But ultimately, they must build certain level of groundwork for them to be able to have that level of sustainability. The ANC was founded not as a political party, but as some sort of pressure group against the apartheid regime. Over the years, it transformed. There was a point where it was supposed to transform to a complete armed struggle, to militancy. But it didn't. Because the people who started the ANC were not the likes of Mandela that we talk about, or Thabo Mbeki, or the Oliver of this world. There were some people who started the movement. Some of them along the line, some of them even, how do I put it, even took a wrong path, where some people stayed consistent in their journey. And that must be true for every struggle. And I think the major aspect where they are not yet ready as a group, as an organization, is that they have not understood the aspect of advocacy beyond the .com, beyond the Twitter, beyond Facebook. Now it's about getting groundworks on the ground. In my village, in Ijaraisi, in Kwara, in your village, all over the country, having a grassroots movement that will not have a structure, a formal structure, not just a figurehead kind of structure, a structure where everybody has a stake. And at the end of the day, where people can watch and say, no, these are not the virtue that we started this organization for. You have stayed your welcome. There's a need for you to step aside and bring in new blood. It must be, every structure in life is more of an organic structure. It must start a time for growth and a time to die.
Okay, now, we have a party called the Young Progressive Party, YPP. Do you think that probably they could create, the young people now could create an alliance with a party like this, field young people spread across the federation, and probably alter the scheme of things come 2019? And of course, one of the things I've seen in the YPP is that the presidential aspirant is actually a man in his 50s or something like that, Morgan, who just declared recently. Do you see this working out for them, such an alliance with this kind of party that has young people, as a selling point, as it were?
Absolutely not. It's going to backfire. And let me correct this impression. When I talked about giving credibility to candidates, it's not about making pronouncements. It's about providing platform where people can have a political engagement, political conversation. Organize
not like a political
party. Not you make a declaration, because ultimately, immediately you go into making declaration, you've already truncated it. Because I could be a young man, I'm a very, very young person. I could decide I want to run within the PDP or within the APC. So it's not a must. And a party, a political party, having a name, having young in its name, does not necessarily mean that it's young per se. When Adams Oshiomhole wanted to run for the governorship election in Edo State, our mindset was that it was going to be under the Labour Party. But he didn't go to the Labour Party. He went for the ACN as a political party of choice. So it's one thing we must agree is this: is that our political party, what they call themselves in the nomenclature and what they do and what they stand for, in most cases are one and opposite. So I'm not going to bank on it on the basis of you. And as a matter of fact, and I believe that before the election commences, probably we are going to see an individual who is much more younger than Professor Kingsley himself, who will be vying for. So if it's on the basis of being young, I'm not really sure 50 falls within a category I'm going to say young. Absolutely not.
Now, prior to, as we count down to 2019, what line of conversation do you think young people should follow in order to begin to galvanize themselves, probably ahead of 2023, like Buhari had said or implied that since he's running, he thinks that the young people might be a stumbling block for now, or they are not prepared for leadership. What line of conversation should we begin to embark on to prepare ourselves? If we cannot make that huge impact in 2019, 2023 will be a better deal for young people.
Definitely. Even if you're running for governor or for president, just because you're young doesn't mean that I'm going to support you. Absolutely not. It's not going to fall within that category of, let's say, we're just looking at having a pool of options where you have as many alternatives as possible. That is a goal for me. It might not be for everybody. But now move beyond that. The conversation I like to look is that we have this political kind of conversation now, where we use arbitrary statement. This has failed, this has not worked, this is not the promise that you gave us in 2015. And I think it's a big problem. And now come to 2015. You think
people shouldn't have that kind of conversation?
No, it's a conversation that is linked with a lot of errors. No, I'm not saying that. Okay. What I'm saying is this, is that if I promise you and say, oh, I'm going to build bullet trains, airport in every state, the question you should ask me first is that, where are you going to get the money? Those are questions that we didn't ask in 2019, 2015.
Budgets are always,
Okay, let me ask you a question. In dollar term, what's the current budget for 2018? In dollars term, in whatever yardstick that you use in measuring it, is below $30 billion. And look at it again.
That's vis-a-vis the benchmark for...
Even if you use it 365. if you use the parallel market. But if you use the official rate, it's about 25 billion US dollar. And now, this is not look at it keenly. To build the second Niger bridge, I'm not an expert, but one expert just said it one time. He said it's going to require 200 billion naira. Just one bridge, just one of it. Then what is the current composition of our capital expenditure? Even at 30%, which puts it around about 2 point something trillion, is still not enough. So we must look at promises on the basis of reality on ground, and not we have that conversation along that path and say, look, wait a minute, this is not for you to just make promises. How do you intend to achieve this? What do you want to do about it?
Didn't the people who were asking the questions not do that groundwork?
They didn't.
If I'm asking these people to vote for me on the basis I'm going to do ABC without counting the cost of ABC, and we just sell that, we give ourselves to you, probably we didn't do our homework, we didn't ask those questions. Is it the fault of those asking the questions, or the people who misled people by saying we could do this and we should basically, agree with them?
The former Prime Minister of Norway, Stoltenberg, made a statement. He said, I'm going to say a lot of things without actually saying anything, because that's the life of a politician. You can be as vague as possible. The word change is vague. Whatever you look at it, you can even change for negative. You can even change for, imagine a change of error like this. It doesn't guarantee in the sense that you're going to do the right thing. And we must say that we should be, how do I put it, just be much more diligent in this conversation going forward.
Okay, as we wind down, what would be your message to the youth?
It's mind-blowing that I'm going to start seeing, people that I will be able to tap on the shoulder and say, hey, guy Alpha, in the House of Representatives. It gives me this kind of feeling that I cannot describe. But it's going to be sad if I'm going to be watching the TV with my dad and I see a man of my age who acts in a way that does not represent those values I want to be seen out there and say, this is me. Those things are the things that we need to look out for. Ultimately, you might end up understanding that even within the bracket of youth, within that bracket, there are still class and class inside. Because all of us, both myself and the one who is an agbero in the park, all of us are within that same bracket. The person who has never been to this country, has never schooled in this country just because his father has a means, we are all in this bracket. And if we now have a situation whereby the responsible one, the savvy one, the articulated one, are not getting the opportunity to rule, it's just some boy brought from Cambridge who does not even understand what it takes to be poor, or a tout who was following a former governor before in his back and decided to say, oh, my boy, come and run. If we have that kind of scenario, it might be difficult for us to really be able to agitate again and say, this is what we want next. This, my friend, is what I looked at as a devil's gift. How you manage it properly will determine whether it will not be used to take a lot from you again.
Bakari Majid, I'd like to say thank you very much for coming on the program today.
It's always a pleasure.
I'm sure we'll always have some more issues to discuss.
Absolutely.
I've been speaking with Bakari Majid. He is a journalist, a writer, and of course a public affairs commentator. And we have been looking at the recently signed Not Too Young to Run bill that is now an act of parliament. It has been a rewarding time on issues of the moment right here on Television Nigerian. My name is Ntene Ekpan. I'll come your way again sometime very soon. Until then, do enjoy the rest of our programs. Bye-bye.